Wanna Bible Quizzing, Great Lakes Ministry 2026. Here is the planned book sequence. Things change, all right? Last year, we didn't even know that the identity book, the newest book for Journey, was going to be done in time. So things can change, but this is the program. This is what we're expecting to happen in the coming years, in case you're curious, want to plan ahead. And this is based on what's in the Awana catalog. These are the books that Awana is saying are the recommended ones for these upcoming years. Positions and responsibilities. We need volunteers. Now, some of these positions are already taken. We've got people for it, but just want to let you know, we do need volunteers. Every team is expected to provide volunteers. So the quiz master asks questions and helps the judges, helps to judge the answers. The head judge evaluates the answers and has the final decision on correctness. Additional judges, if available, evaluate answers and assist the head judge and quiz master, and also keep time. Stage judges, this will be for TNT only specifically. They are watching for eye violations and they will evaluate the whiteboard answers. Scorekeepers, this is where we need a lot because we actually have 2 scorekeepers for every group of teams. And we try to keep the groups of teams as small as possible. So for TNT, we want to have a lot of scorekeepers. The idea is we have 2 people for any team. Their score is recorded twice, and then the scorekeepers compare, and if they've got the same answer, thumbs up. And if they have a different answer, they figure it out before they go on. All right, so we need a bunch of scorekeepers. And then, of course, the coaches themselves, this doesn't count towards your requirement of providing help to the event, but the coach is there to encourage the students, ensure that the questions are clear and fair and correct. All right, so if as a coach you hear a question that is vague or unclear, let the question and answer play out, and then you shout out question. Immediately before we go to another question, you say question. That lets us know that you have a question about the question. All right, so if the question wasn't clear, come up to the judges table, explain why you think that the question was not clear or was not relevant or whatever. And then you can go sit down and the judges will make their decision. Similarly, if we got the answer wrong, sometimes there are just plain typos. And the quiz master will say, and the right answer is B. And actually, everybody knew that the right answer was A. It's like, oops, sorry about that. Go ahead, call us out on it. Or for a verse recitation, if it sounded right to you, go ahead, say question. And usually, if it was, judged wrong, the judge or judges have kept track of, they missed this word, or they transposed, they said part NIV, part King James, or something like that. But you're there not only to help your quizzers, but also to, keep us above board. It's happened. I've had to ask questions when I've been a coach rather than a judge or quiz master. So,
can you tell me, you said we're required to have volunteers. Can you tell me what the expectation for volunteers is in terms of how many? Like per church, per team, per any of that?
I believe it had, in the past, it's been per
team,
per group of teams, like
per church then.
Yeah, so like if you've got, 10 teams, we're going to need probably at least 4 or 5 volunteers.
Okay, so we don't have a specific number, is,
There's not a specific
I don't-
number, but it,
I'd have to look back on some of our stuff.
okay,
yeah, the question was how many volunteers? It's not quite as strict, and we don't need quite as many volunteers as for games.
Right.
But we need, if you've got 10 teams, keep in mind that we need 2 scorekeepers for,
Right.
not for each of those 10 teams, but for doing, several teams. So you got a bunch of teams,
got it,
get us a bunch of scorekeepers.
got it.
We don't need a bunch of ushers for this. We don't need a lot of the others. We don't have line judges, circle directors. So it's not as high a number, but we need help.
And as long as kids don't fall off the stage, we don't need to have catchers in front to be able to keep kids from falling off.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
we're not the Quad Cities.
yeah. And we're not near the San Andreas Fault, so the kids aren't likely to.
Well, we got our own fault up here, but what's the fault up here?
San Andreas.
Yeah.
No, that's the one in California.
Ah.
The New Madrid,
No,
Madrid
thank you,
fault.
thank you.
which is actually bigger than, anyway, 2026 Bible quizzing will be from Grace in Action for TNT.
Wait,
Hmm?
you had evidence of grace, it's evidence of grace this year?
Oh, you're right. Sorry, I corrected the picture and didn't correct the text. It's evidence. It's the book that we're doing this year, which is evidence of grace. Good catch. I missed that and just read the words on the screen instead of looking at the picture. I need to start looking at the pictures more clearly. All right. So evidence of grace. Yeah. The purple book. Evidence of grace. What's covered, the start zone is part of it. All right. So the start zone itself, and then the first 2 units of the handbook. So unit 1 is a little shorter because it actually counts 2 sections from the start zone as being sections. But unit 1 and unit 2. What's covered? The memory verses, of course. I mean, and that includes the correct reference. If they get the reference wrong, it's wrong. The memory verses need to be word perfect. Word perfect in one of the officially supported translations. All right, so King James, New King James, the 1984 publication of NIV, or the English Standard Version. All right. Any one of those, all your players don't have to have the same translation. They don't have to tell us in advance what translation they're using. You don't have to tell us in advance what translation you're using. We will have, anytime a verse or partial memory verse is used, the judges will have all 4 translations. All right, so they just need to get it word perfect. We have discussed on various occasions, what if they just have the idea right? And then it gets really hard on the judges. It's like, yeah, okay, is that close enough or not? And so we're just going to say if it matches one of these 4 versions, you're good. If it doesn't, sorry. Also, the explore, the content, the factual content, the commentary that's in the book on the content, the questions that are in the book on the content, and the official answers for these questions are the ones that are in the leader guide, in the small group guide. All right. So If you have a difference of opinion from Awana, now with TNT, it's mostly straight factual answers. What was Abraham's son's name, or, things like that. It's not interpretive, exegetical questions. But if there's something that you don't like about how Awana answered a question, that's the answer anyway. So let your kids know, yeah, I disagree with this, but this is the official answer. And feel free to, for study material, give them the official answer. You don't do that on club night. They're supposed to read the material and answer the questions. But for quiz, hey, you give them the right answer. Let them study the right answer. And then, of course, the definitions, which are really easy to make questions for, hint, hint, but not obviously discussion questions. All right, so come on, there we go. As I mentioned, the officially correct answer is the one in your leader guide. It's usually an exact quote from the lookup verse. They don't have to give the exact quote. The only time they have to get word perfect exact quote is if it's a memory verse. But that's how easy or clear the correct answer generally is. The definitions don't need to be word perfect. In fact, the only thing that needs to be word perfect, we've said this before previous years, it's still true, is the word of God, since it's the only thing that is perfect. So your judges are going to make judgment decisions based on what the word is and what the definition is. All right, so worthy, deserving of praise and respect, important, valuable. If they say deserving of praise, that's probably going to be judged wrong. They don't need to get this exactly, and unless the question is absolutely explicitly says, what 4 words are used in the definition for worthy, they don't have to get them all. But for some of these things, there's clearly more than one concept involved. It's this and that. Well, if they only say one of those, it's going to be wrong. So do your best to figure out what if you're trying to get the kids to get the minimum content to get it right, think through, okay, what is this particular word? What is the definition trying to get across?
So if it has multiple parts to the definition, they should know each part?
They should know if it's something like this, worthy on the screen right now, that is almost a full sentence. 2 words, just saying 2 words isn't going to do it. If it's definitely got, clearly 2 parts, both parts are necessary. Here, I wouldn't say these are necessarily. So if I were looking at this as the person who wrote the question, which is what I'm going to be, I would be thinking of, okay, so deserving of praise and respect, that's one thing. And then important or valuable, that's a second concept. All right, so worthy is those 2 concepts. One is deserving of praise and respect. And either one of those is going to cover it as far as I'm concerned. Deserving of praise, deserving of respect, the deserving part. And then the other part is important or valuable. Something it's worth something. So deserving and worth something are what I would think of as the 2 parts of worthy. So as long as they got either or both of the first 2 words and either or both of the second 2 words, I'm happy. And they don't have to be exactly those words. Doesn't have, valuable, could be has value, or is worth something, or which is literally where the word comes from. We're good.
So then for glory, would you be wanting all three of those as well?
Glory, greatness, praise, and thanksgiving. Or at least 2 out of 3. But just because it doesn't have to be word perfect. So if you missed one of them, I'd probably say, okay, they've got it. And that's assuming that this was a whiteboard question where they had to write down the definition. If it were multiple choice, they would have to just pick the one that had, if it were multiple choice, the exact answer. Or maybe with multiple choice, another way of doing definitions is give them the definition and say what word. So we might actually even said greatness, praise, and thanksgiving, and then does that define A, worthy, B, glory, or C, on? And in that kind of example, honor being respect, worthy, the difference is deserving of respect. And so if somebody said respect for worthy, that's wrong. Or wrote it down on a whiteboard, or picked C instead of B, like so. We're not trying to trick the kids. And so that's another thing, if a question seems tricky, we weren't trying to trick them. It qualifies as an unclear question. So question us and say, okay, what were you asking there? Or if they say something and we don't accept it, question and come up and ask, they gave, 2/3 of the definition. What, that wasn't good enough? Or, how is deserving of respect different from respect? And then the judges will explain to you. All right, so hopefully that helps. What's not covered, the comics at all. Anything in the comics, even if there's a Bible reference in the comics, we're just not quizzing on the comics. We're also not the start here exercises, which usually are just, ask your mom a question and write down the answer, or what do you think about this, or draw a picture of that. So that's not going to be in there either. Also, the pray. It's like, yeah, kids should pray, but how do you quiz that? So the prayer section, the related exercises, anything that goes along with that is not covered. The extra credit is not covered, the silver or the gold. Question format for TNT. We have multiple choice, which will be the traditional Awana plastic paddles. They'll be given a question, A, B, C, select your answer, paddles up. And they can pull up their paddle and show which letter they chose. For TNT, you have 2 team members, ideally. If you have an odd number of quizzers, you may have exactly 1 team that has 3, unless you've got them segregated by 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 6th, in which case you might have a 3-person team in each category. But the point is that we don't want to turn this into, hey, I have 6 kids, let's make 2 teams of 3. No, that would be 3 teams of 2. 2 is the official number. You can have 3 only if and because you have an odd number of kids interested in quizzing, and we don't want to turn anyone away. Technically, 3 people quizzing is a slight advantage because the way that we're going to score it with TNT is that each player gets their own score. So everybody's got their own paddle. One player puts up A, the other puts up B, and B is correct, then you've got one correct and one wrong. With a 3-player team, what we're going to do is each person will, again, be doing their own quizzing, and then we're going to take the 2 top. So we're just going to throw out the lowest score. So if you've got an 80, a 90, and 100, that's 190. So that's a little bit of potentially a boost. On the other hand, if you've got an 80 and an 80 and a 90, that wasn't. But there is that potential, and so it's a compromise. We're going to let you do a single 3-person team because we don't want to turn any kids away, but don't stack your teams. Don't make a bunch of 3-person teams. It's just, we'll send you an email and say, no, the math doesn't work here. All right. So the other is short answer, a written answer on a whiteboard, sometimes called huddle, simply because the quizmaster says huddle, and that's the time for your team to huddle and whisper to each other what they think the answer should be. For the whiteboard questions, the huddle questions, it's a team answer, not a separate answer for each person. And then there's going to be speed questions for TNT. All of the speed questions for TNT will be verse recitation. All right, we will ask them to recite one of their memory verses from either Start Zone Unit 1 or Unit 2. And then buzz in. We've got little buttons, one for each team. The team can buzz in on the button, and the first team that buzzes in will be called up to answer the question, to recite the verse. If they get it right, they get the 20 points. If they get it wrong, they get 0 points. We don't deduct points for TNT. If they get it wrong, then the team that buzzed in second will be given an opportunity to answer. If they buzz in too soon, that's on them. So, for example, if the quizmaster says, recite Genesis, and someone buzzes in, guess which one? Because there are several memory verses. Genesis. We're not going to keep reading the question. All right, so you want them to buzz in as soon as they know what the question is, what the answer is, but not before that. All right, so here we have an example.
Question number 1, again, sample question. What does TNT stand for? Huddle.
All right, so during this time, they'll have a chance to write down the answers. They'll hold it up when the quizmaster asks them to, and then the stage judges will
5
look
seconds for me.
at the questions. They will be given a 5-second warning, like you
All right.
just heard.
Now, hold your boards up. The correct answer is truth and training. Truth and training.
Right. The quizzers, when they answer, they're told to hold up the whiteboard. All right. Tell them to keep it up. Even if, in this example, if they had written, I don't know, training in truth, or tips and tap dancing, or whatever, something other than truth or training, keep the board up until they're told to put it down. When they're told to put it down by, and that would be by one of the judges on the stage, they should put it face up. Because if they put it face down, they're going to get dry erase marker on their pants or skirt or whatever they're wearing. And parents aren't going to like that. Also, that could erase the answer. And if one of the coaches has a question, hey, that wasn't a fair question. The meaning of TNT isn't in Unit 1 or Unit 2. It's in the preface. We might throw out the question altogether, in which case, if it got erased, that's not a big deal. But if it was wrong, if we decided, we should accept, more or a more liberal definition, according to John 3:16, why did God send his son? And some people said, because he so loved the world, and other people said because of love. And we had said because he so loved the world was the correct answer. And one of your kids said because of love. Then you question, we decide, let's say hypothetically, that we should accept because of love too. Well, if their board's already erased, we don't know that they had the expanded right answer. So tell them, don't erase it until they're told, erase it. There will actually be a separate command, erase your boards. Any questions about the format? Now with TNT, there will be in clear separate segments. There will be all of the multiple choice, then all of the whiteboard, and then speed. They won't have to be swapping back and forth amongst the different styles.
Like you mentioned, the question about the meaning of TNT, I think in the past they've also asked, like, what is the meaning of Awana? Like, what does that stand for? Are there other questions relating to that that might not be in Unit 1 or 2 per se, but we should know anyway?
No. The question was, are there other things like, sometimes they ask, well, what does Awana stand for? Those types of questions, that example there, what does TNT stand for? That's the 0-point sample question to make sure that everybody's marker works and they understand that they should put it up and hold it up and not take it down until told so, and not erase until told so. All right, so if it's not in there, if it's not in Start Zone Unit 1 or Unit 2, and in one of those segments, then, and we ask a question, shout out question and point out that, hey, that's not in the covered material. Because that actually has happened occasionally in the past. Something will come up like that, and it's not in the assigned topics. And one of the coaches usually catches it and says, hey, in fact, even what's covered is changed. Now we officially say Unit 1 and Unit 2. We used to say the first half of the book, which technically includes the preface and the table of contents and all this other irrelevant stuff. All right. Trek. His people, right? I got this right? Okay, good. His people. Trek check is included. The first 2 units. The memory verse, surprise, surprise, which, like we just said, for TNT can be either King James, New King James, New International Version 1984 publication, because that's what's in the Awana books, or English Standard Version. What's covered? The lesson study. I know this is not the lesson study from the current book, but I just reused picture. The point is the lesson study is covered. The keyword definition and key thought are covered. And one of the ways that that question might come is, what's the key thought from the lesson submit? All right. The essential content of the required reading, which will typically be the commentary on the required reading. What's not covered, discussion questions, of course, and anything that's opinion. Trek will have multiple choice and speed. Now, with Trek, there is one set of paddles per team. So here's an example of.
Here we go. Question number 1. This is a multiple choice question. What keyword from lesson 2.5 means having received favor or another good thing? A, friend, B, dream, or C, blessed? Please select your answer. Paddles up. The correct answer is C, blessed.
Right. That's not a sample question. That's an actual question from last year's quiz. So it doesn't apply to this year's book, but the point is, that's the way that the team multiple choices. They're told to consider their answer or select their answer, and then they don't put the paddles up until he says paddles up. And then again, they keep them up until they're told to put them down. And that's the same for TNT. Keep the paddle up until told to put them down, because you won't be told to put them down until all the scorekeepers have checked in. Journey, identity. Faith Foundation is covered, and the first 3 units of the identity book, also known as identity discovered, identity lived, and identity contrasted. The memory verse. Now, this year's journey book actually gives the kids 3 choices of memory verses. The one that's going to be covered in quizzing is the first one, which also happens to be the asterisk one, which is the recommended one from Awana. So that's the one they're going to quiz on. Same translations as everybody else. The exploration question is not covered. Sometimes it's factual, sometimes it's opinion. It's not covered. The commentary on the required reading is covered, and keep in mind that for Journey, the required reading, there's 4 of them. So anything, which is why only 3 units out of the 8 rather than 4, half the book, is going to be covered in quizzing, because they've got a lot of material. The application question at the bottom, definitely not. All right, so emphasizing that there are multiple required readings. So first thing on that slide was the day 1. This is also showing the day 2, day 3, and day 4. The lesson summary. Then at the very end, there's a lesson summary. Now, usually there's no new information in lesson summary. It is just restating some of the things from the other pages. But just FYI, it is officially a covered thing. And I've actually noticed that it's another one of those easy options for coming up with questions. The identity insight is also required. All right, that's covered. Now, the way that the identity insight works for each unit is it builds and builds and builds. They don't have to know any individual piece. They just need to know the final product. Important ideas, AKA definitions. Yep. What's not covered, the think about it section. The day 6 and day 7 reflect and share, or their individual, club teachings or video content from Awana. So with this book, Awana made basically lectures for each of the lessons. But not all clubs use those videos as the lecture for the lesson, so it's not covered. Any questions about any level? All right. One other thing about TNT.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So when you think about, is that considered day 5?
Yeah.
Okay. And for Trek, are you only taking from day 2, or is it day 1? You're usually nothing in day 1, but will you be taking from day 3, 4, 5, 6 also for Trek?
Yes. If it's factual questions or statements.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Now, what I want to do with TNT, and this will depend on how many teams there are. When registration opens up on Monday, there'll be registration for 3rd and 4th grade teams and for 5th and 6th grade teams. So a 3rd, 4th team, meaning a team that has only 3rd graders and or 4th grader. 5th and 6th, meaning a team that has at least one participant who is in either 5th or 6th grade. If I get enough teams, we will have a separate 3rd and 4th quiz and 5th and 6th quiz. And the questions for 3rd and 4th grade are going to be easier than the questions. Same material, but easier questions than 5th and 6th. If I don't have enough teams in each of those divisions to have its own division, I'll do the same thing we did last year. There will only be one session of quizzing, but the scores of 3rd and 4th grader teams will be judged separately from the scores of 5th and 6th grader teams. So there will be, even though it's all the same quiz, there will be, in essence, two simultaneous divisions. And there will be a 1st, 2nd, 3rd for 3rd, 4th grade, 1st, 2nd, 3rd for 5th, 6th grade, or 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, however you want to think about it. All right, so if I got enough team, yeah.
Question then, when will you have that information confirmed? Do you have a date? Because that can change the timing of the event. And we'd like to communicate with families.
Yeah. Let's see, we got quiz coming up in February 21. And so I will definitely know by the 14th. If I get it, as soon as I get enough teams, I will post it on the website and send out an email. I promise you, I will make a final decision by the 14th on whether or not we will have 2 sections. Hopefully, if I get enough teams, like I said, if I get enough teams, I'll let you know earlier. If they're just dribbling in and I'm getting lots of mixed teams and no 3rd, 4th grade teams, I might draw the line earlier than the 14th. But definitely promise you by the 14th. Hopefully, if, on the other hand, if all of the churches wait till the 13th to register their TNT teams, actually, if that happens, I'll probably well in advance say, no, that's it, we're having one. So that's another one of those situations where I just call it and say, clearly you don't care, so why should I? Yeah.
If it's two divisions, it's everybody's still gonna be on stage at the same time, or they're gonna do two separate times?
If it's two divisions, it'll be two separate times. And my plan is third and fourth grade first, then fifth and sixth grade. Or I don't know, maybe I should flip that, because the fifth and sixth graders have the harder questions, and the third and fourth graders, it's like they're not going to get an unfair advantage. I don't know. What do you think? I was planning on doing it in order of age, but considering how hard it would be to keep everybody else out.
So the questions are gonna be different if we have two divisions.
Yeah.
So if you had the fifth and sixth graders go first, third and fourth graders who typically might be totally brand new quizzers would have the option to watch
Yeah.
and learn.
Yeah. So in the room, the comment came up that, if we had the fifth and sixth graders first, then third or fourth graders who may have never quizzed before will have the opportunity to see it and learn about the quizzing process. So let's go with that. If there are two separate sections, it's going to be fourth and fifth graders, fifth and sixth graders first, and then a separate section for third and fourth graders. And there will be different questions. Although technically there may be some overlap, I'll at least reword them so it's not obvious.
Okay, I have a question, Verna here.
Yeah.
And Lisa might be able to chime in on this one. You can get back to me if you want to on this a different day. So one of our quizzers, one of our fifth graders who loves quizzing as much as life, is not going to be able to be there on the 21st. If he has access to Google Meets, could we somehow add him on the team as virtual?
Oh.
Another whole monkey.
Yeah, that's another whole, monkey on your back. And then there's no stage judge, there's no
Oh, that's true.
way of knowing.
We have to have other staff in charge, and with,
Yeah,
Which could be done. But that's also gonna cause, interesting conniptions.
I mean, is it, if it's because he's in the hospital or undergoing cancer treatment or something like that, then we will figure out some way of doing it. If it's because he's on vacation
or a sports team.
or a sports
Yeah.
team or something like that, nah.
That's a lot of.
Considering.
That's all right. Thanks for asking, Verna.
Yeah, glad you love quizzing, though.
I mean, and we will, we'll think through how that could be done and when it would be appropriate to do it. Because it could be done but you could almost have to have a one-on-one monitor on that. And the monitor would almost have to be headphoned away from everybody else to prevent other problems
But
and
close enough to the judge's table too.
to be able to do something. And also if they had a coach had an objection, it's going to become logistically difficult if the coach is in the room, but the kid is in the other space.
Yeah.
They have to show the
True.
board. Could be done, but we'd have to know in advance. And also they would have to have, I mean, there's just some mechanical things that yes, it could be done and we'll have to think through it. But I don't think we're gonna have time to be able to get that fixed for this meet.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for considering it. Maybe a different time. He'll be in the States next time.
Yeah.
All
I have a
right.
question. I have a question though, Tom.
Sure.
For Journey, because I think I missed this for somehow. But is the required reading, like the Bible reading, is that up for questions? Because you said like there's a lot and there's only 3 units, so I wasn't sure. Is that
Not-
because there's a lot of reading?
I'm not gonna pull content from the reading that isn't in the handbook.
Okay. Got it. Got it.
But all 4 of the readings have content in the handbook. And so all 4 of these days are potential sources of questions.
Yeah.
But I'm not, for example, going to pull something else out of Genesis chapters 45 through 47.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
I mean, if nothing else, that's just too much work for me.
Well, there's a lot. So yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
That would be like endless possibilities. Okay, thank you.